What to do, YouTube? B Kelly back again with another banger. Today's video is going to be about my ACC football predictions for the 2020-21 season. And first, I'm going to talk about the Atlantic side of the ACC. With my first place spot of the Atlantic division of the ACC, I have Clemson. This should come as no surprise because Clemson has been a powerhouse in the ACC for a while now, and I think they're going to go to the playoffs yet again, especially with Trevor Lawrence. I have them going 12-0, beating Georgia Tech, Louisville, Akron, Virginia, Boston College, Florida State, NC State, Syracuse, Notre Dame, Citadel, Wake Forest, and South Carolina. The next team I have in the second place spot in the Atlantic Division is Louisville. I feel like Louisville is going to improve a lot from last season, and I think they have a lot of potential. Now, I have them having a pretty good start, beating NC State, but then losing to Clemson, and then having a big win streak, beating Murray State, Western Kentucky, Syracuse, Boston College, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Wake Forest, but then I have them finishing the season kind of bad, losing to Notre Dame and Kentucky, making them 9-3, which is an improvement from the 7-5 regular season they had last season. With my third place spot, I have Boston College. I'm predicting Boston College to go 7-5. I don't think they're a bad team, but I don't think they're a good team either. I just think they're average at best. But I do have them beating Syracuse and Ohio, but then getting upsetted by Kansas in Les Miles. And then I have them beating Purdue, but then losing to Clemson and Louisville, but then going on a winning streak, beating Virginia Tech, Holy Cross, and NC State, but then losing to Florida State and North Carolina. And to end the regular season this year, I do have them beating Wake Forest. With my fourth place spot, I have Florida State. I know a lot of Florida State fans aren't going to like the record I'm projecting, especially after the hire of Mike Norvell from Memphis, but I don't see it being something where they hit gold immediately. I see it being a continual process that's going to be kind of slow in the beginning. I see a 6-6 season in the beginning, but I think Mike Norvell was a great hire and can bring them back to their glory days at Florida State. Now, I do see them being 6-6, losing to West Virginia in their first game of the season, but then beating Samford, then losing to Boise State, then beating NC State, then losing to Clemson, then beating Wake Forest, and then losing 2 straight games to Louisville and Pitt, but then going on a winning streak, beating Miami, Boston College, and Syracuse. In their last game of the season, I have them losing to Florida. With my fifth place spot, I have Syracuse. Now, even though they're going to go 7-5, they're not going to win as many conference games as Florida State. And I do have them going 7-5, and last year, they were one of the more disappointing teams in all of college football, and I think they will try to improve from that this season. I do have them losing to Boston College, but then going on a winning streak, beating Rutgers, Colgate, and Western Michigan, then losing to Louisville, then beating Liberty, then losing to Clemson, and beating Georgia Tech, and Wake Forest, and NC State, but then finishing the season kind of poor, losing to Florida State and Pitt. With my sixth place spot in the ACC Atlantic Division, I have NC State. I have them going 5-7, losing their first 2 games to Louisville and Mississippi State, then winning their next 2 games against Troy and Delaware, then losing to Florida State, beating Duke, losing to Clemson, beating Wake Forest, losing to Boston College, Syracuse, then beating Liberty, and then losing to North Carolina and Chapel Hill. With my last place spot in the Atlantic Division of the ACC, I have Wake Forest. I have them declining a lot from last season, especially with the loss of Jamie Newman. I do have them going to a somewhat good start to their season, going 2-1 their first 3 games, beating Old Dominion, losing to Appalachian State, then beating Villanova. But then it gets ugly. I have them going on a bad losing streak, losing to Notre Dame, Duke, Miami, Florida State, NC State, Syracuse, Louisville, Clemson, and Boston College. Now time for the ACC Coastal Division. With my first place spot in the Coastal Division, I have North Carolina. I think this team is going in an amazing direction under Mac Brown, and I think this team has a lot of potential. They could possibly go 12-0 this season, and they could possibly go 10-2 or 9-3. Either one of those options are very possible. Now, I do have them losing their first game at UCF, and honestly, they could easily win this game as well, but I'm just seeing if, UCF, they'll be a very healthy team. They're at home, and Mackenzie Milton could be back. Now, if he's not, I'm giving the win to UNC, but if he's back, I'm giving the win to UCF, because you cannot sleep on that team when healthy. But then I have them beating Auburn, beating James Madison, beating Georgia Tech, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Duke, Miami, UConn, Pitt, Boston College, and NC State to be 11-1, ultimately being the ACC championship game. With my second place spot, I have Pitt, and I have them going 9-3. I feel like this is a team that kind of gets underrated every season. People just don't expect them to be the best team because of the offense, but the defense is deadly, y'all, especially that secondary and defensive line. And I do have them beating Miami in their home opener, then beating Marshall and beating Richmond, beating Duke, beating Miami. Then they get to play Notre Dame at home at Heinz Field. I have them losing that game. Then I have them beating Georgia Tech, and then beating Florida State, beating Virginia Tech, then losing to North Carolina and losing to Virginia, and then beating Syracuse in their final game of the season. My next team I have is going third place is Miami. I feel like they're going to be 9-3 and improve a lot from last season, especially with the new leadership of D'Eriq King from Houston. Now I do have them going 9-3. I have them beating Temple, Wagner, Michigan State, then losing to Pitt, beating Wake Forest, losing to North Carolina, beating Virginia, losing to Florida State, beating Virginia Tech, beating Georgia Tech, and beating Duke to ultimately be 9-3. With my fourth place spot, I have Virginia Tech. I do have them getting off to a pretty good start, beating Liberty, then losing to Penn State, beating Middle Tennessee and North Alabama and Georgia Tech. But then I have them losing to North Carolina, Boston College, Louisville, Pitt, and Miami. But then I have them getting back to the winning side of beating Duke and Virginia in their final 2 games of the season to be bowl eligible. With my fifth place spot in the Coastal Division, I have Virginia. Now, I think a few of these losses for Virginia with their 6-6 record is my projection. I think they're going to be close losses because I think Virginia has a good defense. But I don't know how the offense is going to be without Bryce Perkins. I think Bryce Perkins was a very good quarterback for Virginia, and I don't know how they're going to be without him. Now let's get to the schedule. I do have them being 6-6, losing to Georgia in their first game, beating VMI, beating UConn, then losing to Clemson and UNC, then beating Georgia Tech and Old Dominion, then losing to Miami, Louisville, and beating Duke and Pitt in their last couple of games. And then their final game of the season, I have them losing at Virginia Tech. I feel like the Hokies will get revenge from last season. My sixth place spot, I have the Duke Blue Devils. Now, I do have them getting to a very good start on the season, beating Middle Tennessee, along Charlotte, then losing to Pitt, then beating Wake Forest. But then I have them going on a pretty bad losing streak, losing to NC State, North Carolina, Notre Dame, then beating Georgia Tech, then going back to losing streak, losing to Virginia, Virginia Tech, and Miami, to ultimately be 5-7 and just miss out on a bowl game. With my last place spot in the Coastal Division, I have Georgia Tech. I have them ultimately being 1-11, with their only win being in their second week against Gardner-Webb. Now let's talk about the losses. I have them losing their first week against Clemson, and then losing the rest of their games after the Gardner-Webb game to UCF, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Pitt, Syracuse, Duke, Notre Dame, Miami, and Georgia. It's overall a pretty tough schedule. If you guys like the video, remember to smash that like button, turn on the post notifications, and subscribe for more videos. B Kelly out. Next one's going to be the Big Ten. Be on the lookout for that video in the next few days.